Most founders believe their name disappears the moment they file an LLC or a corporation. They think once the LLC is approved or the corporation is formed, their personal exposure fades into the background. The belief is comforting, but it's also wrong. Your name doesn't disappear once the paperwork exists. Your name disappears only when the authority, responsibility, and execution stop flowing through you personally. Welcome to the Prosapreneur Network. This episode is going to explain why your name follows bad structure, not as punishment, not as failure, but as a system response. Institutions don't start by trusting entities. They start by tracking humans. Banks, courts, regulators, insurance companies, all of them. They default to the individual until a structure proves it operates independently. An LLC or a corporation is not trusted because it exists. It's trusted because of how it functions. If decisions, money, contracts, and authority still move through the person, then the system continues to attach outcomes to that person. That is why your name follows the business, not because the business failed or the entity failed, but because the separation was never really completed. Your name attaches where authority is unclear. This most commonly happens: contracts signed personally, guarantees added temporarily, bank accounts controlled informally, and decisions made without documented delegation. None of these things feel dramatic. All of them anchor responsibility to the individual. Once anchored, responsibility is not going to drift away on its own. It's got to be intentionally redirected. Filing creates the existence, but it doesn't create operation. Your name is going to follow bad structure because the filings in and of themselves do not reassign the authority. The filing doesn't change who acts on behalf of the business entity. The filings are not going to alter behavior. If the business entity, LLC, or corporation doesn't act independently, then the system does not treat it independently. This is why founders say, "But I have an LLC." And institutions respond by evaluating conduct anyway. The entity exists, but the separation doesn't. Many founders also believe that personal guarantees are unavoidable. Sometimes they are. Often, they're simply unexamined. Every guarantee is a conscious decision to reattach identity to risk. When guarantees are used strategically, they're understood and contained. When they're automatic, they erase separation quietly. The issue is not whether guarantees exist. The issue is whether the structure accounts for them. Unexamined guarantees cause names to linger indefinitely. Your name doesn't follow bad structure until the pressure arrives. Pressure looks like disputes, audits, bank freezes, or court freezing assets, death, or exits. At that moment, the institutions ask, who decided? Who controlled what? Who benefited from what? Who obligated? If the answer points to you, your name is going to follow the outcome, regardless of what exists on paper. So, your name does not follow bad structure out of spite or just by chance. It follows because the responsibility was never relocated from you personally. Separation, it's not merely symbolic, it's operational. So if you want your name to stop following risk, the structure must actually carry it out. That's what this episode exists to clarify. Welcome to the Prosapreneur Network. In this segment, we're going to talk about why structure must come before growth and what happens when the attention, the customers, and the money arrives before the structure does. Most people think that growth is the goal: more clients, more traffic, more money. But growth doesn't fix the problems. It makes any existing problems louder. Today, we're going to talk about why structure has to come before growth and what happens when it doesn't. What does growth really mean? What does it look like? Growth means more attention on what you're doing, more eyes, more activity, more records. When nobody notices you, the mistakes stay small. But when people notice, mistakes spread. Growth doesn't create problems, it usually reveals them. People grow first because growth feels like progress. Posting content feels productive, running ads feels serious, getting clients. That makes everything feel official. Structure feels slow. Growth is exciting. Feeling busy is not the same as being protected. Here's what happens when structure comes last. When the growth comes first, shortcuts show up. People skip documentation, they mix money, they sign things fast. For example, rushing to get contracts completed and signed. Accounts get shared. Decisions get personal. Those shortcuts, well, they stay permanent. You don't outgrow early mistakes. You carry them forward. So when we scale, we lock in the exposure, because once the growth starts, fixing the structure becomes harder. More contracts to fix, more income to explain, more activity to unwind. Changing the structure after growth means changing the history. How do you do that? Courts look backwards. Here's what the proper sequence actually looks like. The correct sequence is to understand the risk, set the structure, and then grow. Structure decides where new money lands. Growth should fall into a prepared container. This is why entity choice matters. This is why names matter. This is why EINs matter only in context. Here's how you prepare for the long term. Real structure is about control over time, not just while things are going well, but when things change. Growth is going to attract opportunities, but it also attracts problems. So structure decides who handles both, the opportunities as well as the problems, because growth without structure doesn't make you successful. It makes you visible. In the next episode, we're moving past formation and into what actually keeps businesses standing after they exist. Build the foundation once, then let growth build on it. Thank you for tuning in to the Prosapreneur Network.